Let's try to learn finding the square roots in this video. Alright, first let's learn what are the square numbers. So I have here a set of numbers. I have 1 squared, the answer is 1. 2 squared, the answer is 4. 3 squared, the answer is 9, because you have, for this part, you have 3 times 3, which is equal to 9. This one is 2 times 2, which is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. 5 squared is 25. And up to the 10. 10 squared is 100. The numbers that you see here, this is what you call the square numbers, because they are the results when you square these numbers right here on the left side. So the square numbers are 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, and 100. And you can keep going on to 11, 12, and so on. Alright, so if you're answering square roots, you have to think about the square numbers here, because they will help you to get the answer. For example, you have the square root of 4. So you see that 4 is a square number, and that's the result when you square 2. So the answer here is 2. So you're going to think of a number, multiply it twice, it gives you a 4, which is 2. So if you get the square root of 16, you know that 16 is the result when you square a 4, because that's 4 times 4. So the answer here is a 4. Another example, if you have the square root of 64, for example, you know that 64 is the result when you multiply or square 8, because that's 8 squared, that's 64, 8 times 8. So the answer to this problem is 8. Alright, now let's look at the square root of 12. Now sometimes the square root is not a perfect answer. Meaning, if we use our calculator, square root of 12, it will give us a decimal answer. And look, 12 is not on the perfect square list, so definitely the answer to this is a decimal when we use our calculators. Sometimes we don't want to express a radical in a decimal form, but we only want to simplify it. And how do you simplify if it's not a perfect square root? So here's how you do it. First, all you have to do is to break this number into 2. You're going to break that number there into 2. But one of the number, preferably the first number here, must be a perfect square number, a number from here. So you have to think which number can divide 12. So the biggest number, preferably, which is 4. Because if you divide 12 divided by 4, that's equal to 3. So I should have my 4 here and then a 3 here. To check, you multiply the two numbers here. Multiply 4 times 3, that's 12. After breaking the numbers, now you take the square root of each number. Take the square root of each number and simplify. Well, you know this part here will be a positive 2, because the square root of 4, that's the result when you square a 2. And then 3, which is not perfect because it's not on the list, just bring it down. Just attach it to the number 2. Alright? And that's it. That's the simplest form. Alright, let's take a look at the second example. We have the square root of 72. And definitely 72 is not a perfect square. It's not on the list. And if you use your calculator, it will give you a decimal answer. But sometimes we don't want that in a decimal form. We just want it to simplify it. So here's how you do it. You just break this number 72 into two numbers, but the first number should come from this list. Now, you should pick the biggest number that can divide 72. You can try your calculator. Divide 72 by 100, 72 by 81, 72 by 64, and see which can perfectly divide 36. The strategy is to start from the bottom, because we're looking for the biggest number that can divide 72. So, well, if you check your calculator, it will be 36, the biggest number that can divide 72. Because 72 divided by 36 is equal to 2. So you have 36 and 2. 36 times 2 is 72. Now you take the square roots. Square root of 36 is 6. So I have 6 here. Square root of 2 is not a perfect. It's not on the list. So just bring it down. And so this is your simplest form.